Well, since I got my pulse on the trigger, let's talk about a video that Roberto Blake made 2 years ago. Hey everybody, this is Steven Serage of Fire in the Mind Design, and I'm making this video today because I was recently rewatching a video by Roberto Blake. Roberto Blake, if you don't know who he is a graphic designer who runs a fairly successful channel here on YouTube, where he has vlogs, does interviews, does product reviews, and gives advice to designers and aspiring designers, as well as other creatives. And this was a video where he was talking to aspiring designers about whether or not they should go to design school. Now, the purpose of this video today isn't to tell you whether or not you should go to design school. I think there's a lot of factors that you have to think about when doing that. My issue is to talk about some of the particular reasons that Roberto Blake gives for why you should or shouldn't go to school. And I just want to make a conversation around particular issues that I saw, one in particular, which I don't see anyone addressing. Now, Roberto Blake is one of the things he's going to recommend early off in his video is that if you feel like you need a degree, then perhaps you should go to school for something other than design. And then you can take design as an elective or maybe as a minor, and you can combine skill sets that you learn. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. I do have an issue, though, with the way that he frames it. It seems as if design is somehow particularly easy to learn, particularly in comparison to some things that he recommends that you study. Now, we're not talking about dental school or nursing or something like that, where you would definitely have to go to school for them. He recommends things like fine arts, marketing or business, or programming, things along those lines. Now, what strikes me as odd about this is that these are all fields which you don't need to go to school to learn. For fine arts, I'm sure that if you look around, you will find courses that are taught, individual classes that are taught, which will be by working artists who will charge far less than what you would be charged if you go to college to study the fine arts. Now, this isn't to say you shouldn't go to school for the fine arts, but if the reasoning behind not studying graphic design as your major is that you could learn these design skills elsewhere, then it's not clear to me why you would study the fine arts. The same goes with programming. There are plenty of courses online, and there are plenty of books that are available. They come out every single year, which you can use to study programming. And most interestingly is business and marketing. And it seems particularly odd to me given that he will, later in the video, bring up lynda.com and the lynda.com resources for learning design. Well, lynda.com has more courses on marketing, entrepreneurship, and business than they have on design. So it's framed as if there's an assumption from the beginning that the person involved will have an easier time learning design than any of those skills, which, in my experience, from seeing people learning design, I don't see any grounds for believing that. Now, but I wouldn't say that he's wrong, that you could learn these skills elsewhere. You certainly could. And he brings up, if you didn't want to go to school, certain things that you could do. Like, you should go to the website of a particular college, and you can find what their curriculum is. And I would definitely recommend that you do that, whether or not you go to a school or not. But I have a bit of an issue as to the opponent that he sets up in the video. He sets up the opponent of his position as somebody who's saying that you don't have the self-discipline to learn design. And I don't think that's the major issue. I think there's a much more pressing issue, which if you don't actually go to design school, if you don't take upper-level design classes, you're going to have to find some other way of filling. And that biggest issue is the critique. Now, I don't know what Roberto Blake's experience was when he was first learning design, but for most students, the critique that you will get in classes, where you will be made to put up any and all work that you've done, and you will have to defend it, in a manner of speaking, against the fellow students as well as your professors, is instructive on a level that I don't think a lot of people appreciate. Now, why do I say that? It's because this is going to be the first time that a lot of people are actually going to have their work interrogated in a systematic way. Now, design is a service industry. And I want you to think about the fact that when you are working with clients, they don't have the background that you're going to have. And so when they have a problem with your design, they might not have the nuanced language to really describe what the issue is. And if you are a working graphic designer, this will inevitably happen to you, where a client will look over your designs and they will have some issue with it. In some way, they don't feel it quite fits the market that they're aiming at, or they don't quite understand certain decisions that you've made, but they don't really have the language to explain what the problem is. So they're going to make statements which, even to them, are going to sound somewhat incoherent. And after making these statements, they're going to ask you if you understand what they mean, or if you know how to fix the problem. And it's part of your job to be able to say yes, and to mean it. And if you don't understand what they mean, to be able to ask those follow-up questions, those probing questions, to get at what is troubling them about the proofs that you've presented with them. So if you've never gone through a critique process, it's not clear that you're going to have those skills to answer them. I've actually found that a lot of people, when they first start going into these classes, and this is also an issue which people who don't go to school have to overcome, they don't take critiques of their work fairly well. A lot of people take them personally, and I can tell you certain stories of people that I've seen who are new to this, who cry over fairly minor issues with their design because they've never been called out before, and they've never been made to defend their work against a nuanced critique. So a lot of them will take it as some sort of personal affront. And I think this is the most important thing that you will actually get out of a lot of design classes, and Roberto never really addresses it. Now, does this mean that you have to go to design school? Perhaps not. You could, in fact, form a group of other people working creatively where you can have these sort of critique sessions. But if people do what Roberto says, I'm afraid that they are going to be set up where they're not going to be able to understand the criticisms that they're going to get and how to answer them. Because he brings up looking for people online and people in local groups that can be a springboard or even a kind of mentor to them, which is important. I would definitely recommend you do. But the fact of the matter is that these people, as much as they do want to help you, and generally speaking, people in this industry do want to help you, but they're not going to have the time to sit there and really go through things in the process that you're going to need in order to address the concerns that your clients will inevitably have. Because part of what the critiques do is they help you understand the sort of criticisms people are going to make, the sort of issues people might have, and to understand that just because a design might look proper, it doesn't mean that it is proper to the situation. So this might be something you'd be able to get over by having study groups that you get together with, and you critique each other's work, and you try and drill down into why certain designs may or may not work. Now, ideas about how these groups might be structured or what sort of exercises you might do when you meet would probably warrant a video series in and of itself. So I'm not going to go into it here, but maybe I'll bring it up sometime in the future. In any case, this was an unscripted video. It's going off the cuff. I hope that Roberto Blake lets me know what he thinks of it, and I'd love to know what all of you think about what I said down below. Alright, so this is Steve Sarajian, and keep those fires of creativity burning.